When we begin the journey of learning a new language, especially English, the first thought that usually enters our mind is that it is too difficult, that maybe this is only for very smart people or those who have been living abroad since childhood, but the reality is very different because English is a language like any other, and if we approach it with the same mindset we use to learn anything else in life, it slowly becomes part of us. The problem most learners face is that they try to translate every single word from their mother tongue into English, and this habit keeps their mind locked in one place. Instead of thinking naturally, they spend time switching from one language to another, and that blocks fluency. The very first step is to accept that English is not just about memorizing grammar rules or passing exams, it is about communication, about expressing what is inside you, and the more you use it, the more comfortable it becomes. Imagine how a child learns to speak his native language. He listens, repeats, makes mistakes, gets corrected, and slowly gains confidence. The same process works with English. You don't need to aim for perfection from day one. What you need is the courage to speak even if it is broken, because every mistake is a sign that you are learning. Many people complain that they do not have anyone to talk to in English, but this is not true in today's world where we have mobile phones, online platforms, podcasts, and YouTube channels. You can listen and repeat again and again. Start by describing your surroundings in English. Talk about the cup on your table, the sky outside your window, or the emotions you feel during the day. These little exercises train your brain to think in English directly, without translation. It might feel strange at first, but the more you push yourself, the easier it becomes. Another important thing is building vocabulary, not by memorizing long lists, but by learning words in context. For example, instead of just learning the word beautiful, try making a sentence like, "The garden looks beautiful today," or, "She has a beautiful smile." This way the word sticks in your memory, along with a real-life example. And when you use new words in your daily conversations, they stop being strangers and become part of your own speech. Alongside vocabulary, focus on phrases and expressions that people actually use. Learning a sentence like, "How are you doing today?" is far more useful than only knowing separate words like how, are, you, and doing. Because real communication happens in chunks, not single words. You should also make listening a daily habit. Choose one English show, movie, or even songs, and pay attention to how words connect in natural speech. At first you may not understand everything, but your ears will adjust, and over time, you will catch more and more. Try shadowing, which means repeating exactly what you hear, copying the tone, rhythm, and style. This not only improves pronunciation but also builds confidence. Remember that consistency matters more than intensity. Studying 10 minutes every day will give better results than studying 2 hours only once a week. Your brain loves repetition, and with small, regular practice, you will notice changes that surprise you. Do not forget to set small goals, like learning 5 new words today or speaking 1 minute in English without stopping. Every little achievement motivates you for the next step. Sometimes you will feel stuck, sometimes you will feel like you are not improving, but that is part of the process. Think about how we climb stairs. One step might feel small, but together they take us higher. You must be patient with yourself. Nobody learns overnight. Fluency is built day by day, just like fitness comes from regular exercise. There will be days when you forget words, when your sentences sound broken, when people do not understand you, but instead of feeling ashamed, treat it like practice. Every mistake is feedback. And do not compare yourself with others because everyone has a different journey. Maybe someone had more opportunities, maybe someone studied abroad, but your story is unique, and your progress is valuable. Celebrate every improvement, no matter how small. One more thing that helps is keeping a personal diary in English. At the end of the day, write 2 or 3 sentences about what you did, what you felt, or what you plan for tomorrow. This simple practice trains both your writing and thinking. When you read back after a few weeks, you will be surprised to see how much you have improved. Also try speaking to yourself aloud. Yes, it feels funny, but it works. Stand in front of a mirror, pretend you are giving a presentation, introduce yourself, talk about your hobbies. These self-conversations strengthen your confidence and reduce fear when you speak with real people. Do not run away from grammar completely. But also do not let grammar rules freeze you. Learn the basic tenses, past, present, future, and focus on using them naturally. If you make a mistake, just continue speaking. Communication matters more than correctness. Over time, as you listen more and practice more, grammar will settle in naturally. Another useful tip is to surround yourself with English as much as possible. Change the language on your phone, follow English pages on social media, watch English news, read simple articles. The more you see and hear English, the more your brain accepts it as normal. Make English a part of your lifestyle, not just a subject in school. That is how true fluency is built, not through memorizing books but through living with the language every single day. When you begin to treat English as part of your lifestyle, everything you do becomes an opportunity to practice and improve, and this shift makes the process much smoother because you are no longer waiting for the perfect moment to study, you are simply living in English. Imagine waking up in the morning and the first thoughts in your head are in English, even simple things like thinking, I need to get up now, or, the sun is shining outside, begin to train your brain, and over time this habit grows stronger. Many learners make the mistake of limiting their English practice only to classroom lessons or specific study times, but the reality is that progress happens faster when you blend the language into your daily life, allowing it to flow naturally instead of being forced. When you go about your routine and describe your actions in English, even silently in your mind, you begin to build that instant connection between thought and language, and that is what ultimately creates fluency. The more you expose yourself, the easier it becomes, and soon you find that even without trying, English words and sentences come to you as naturally as your native language. It is important to understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity, because practicing for 10 minutes every day can give you more results than studying for 3 hours once a week. Think about language learning as building a muscle. You cannot expect to go to the gym once a month and suddenly become strong. You need to exercise regularly, and your brain works the same way with languages. Every small exposure adds up, whether you are listening to a short podcast, writing a quick journal entry, or having a short conversation with yourself. All these small steps push you forward. There will be days when motivation feels low, and you may not feel like practicing, but that is exactly when small actions matter the most, because keeping the habit alive is more important than doing it perfectly. When you stay connected daily, your brain never loses touch with English, and this is how you avoid the frustrating stop-and-start cycle that many learners experience. Another powerful element is surrounding yourself with English media, because immersion changes the way your brain processes information. If you watch a movie, listen to music, or read an article in English, you are not just learning vocabulary, you are training your ear to catch sounds, your mind to recognize patterns, and your memory to store useful phrases. Try to choose content that genuinely interests you because enjoyment increases focus, and when you are curious, your brain absorbs more. If you love cooking, watch English recipe videos. If you like sports, follow English commentary, and if you enjoy stories, read novels or listen to audiobooks. The goal is not to understand every single word, but to get used to the rhythm, the flow, and the way ideas are expressed. At first you may feel lost, but gradually you will catch more and more, and suddenly whole sentences will make sense without translation. That is the moment you realize your brain has begun to think in English. Interacting with real people also makes a huge difference, because conversation forces you to think quickly, listen carefully, and respond naturally. Even short exchanges, like saying hello to someone online or asking a simple question in English, give your brain valuable practice. If you don't have many opportunities to speak with native speakers, use language exchange platforms, join online forums, or find study partners who share your goal. Practicing together keeps you motivated and also reduces the fear of making mistakes, because when both sides are learners, you support each other instead of judging. Remember that confidence grows only when you take action, and the more you speak, the easier it becomes. Thinking in English is like building a bridge between your mind and your voice, and conversations are the strongest way to test and strengthen that bridge. There will always be challenges along the way, and you may feel frustrated when progress seems slow, but it is important to understand that learning is not a straight line. Some weeks you will feel a big improvement, while other weeks may feel flat, yet both are part of the process. What matters is that you continue, because consistency always brings results in the long run. Mistakes should not be seen as failures but as signs that you are trying, and every mistake teaches you something. Even advanced speakers make errors, but they do not let those errors stop them from communicating, and that attitude is what you need to develop. Treat mistakes as stepping stones, because every step moves you forward. Keeping a journal or diary in English can also be a powerful tool because writing slows down your thoughts and allows you to practice forming sentences without pressure. Even a few lines a day about what you did, how you felt, or what you plan to do tomorrow can create a strong habit. Over time you will notice that your sentences become more natural, your vocabulary expands, and you rely less on translation. This also creates a record of your progress, and looking back after a few months will show you how far you have come, which can be very motivating. Some learners even like to record voice notes instead of writing, which is another excellent way to practice both thinking and speaking in English, and it also helps you track your pronunciation improvement. To stay consistent, it helps to set realistic goals and celebrate small achievements. For example, if you watch a 10-minute video and understand the main idea, that is progress worth celebrating. If you manage to describe your day in English without switching to your native language, that is a victory. These small wins build confidence and create momentum, and momentum is what keeps you moving forward. The danger comes when learners only focus on the big goal, like becoming fluent, because that feels too far away, but when you appreciate small steps, you feel successful every day. Success then becomes a habit, not just a final destination. Another helpful strategy is to connect your emotions to English, because when feelings are involved, learning becomes deeper and more memorable. If you hear a song that makes you happy, if you laugh at a joke in English, or if you feel touched by a story, your brain forms stronger connections. Emotions give meaning to words, and meaning is what makes them stick. That is why learning through content you enjoy is so effective, because it is not just practice, it is experience. The more experiences you have in English, the more it becomes part of your identity, not just a subject you study. Finally, remember that patience is as important as practice, because real change takes time. Thinking in English will not happen overnight, but every day you put in effort, you get closer. The key is not to wait for perfection but to enjoy the journey, to notice the progress you are making, and to trust that consistency will bring results. Language learning is not about rushing to the finish line, it is about building a new way of seeing and expressing the world, and that transformation is worth the time. When you stay dedicated, think positively, and keep going step by step, you will discover that one day, without even realizing it, you are no longer translating in your head, you are simply living in English, and that is the true sign of fluency. When you begin to live with English as part of your everyday thinking, you start noticing that it slowly becomes your comfort zone rather than something foreign or difficult. The moment you realize you are not translating in your head anymore but directly forming ideas in English, you understand that progress is happening, even if it is subtle. This stage can feel exciting because it gives you confidence, yet it also requires careful maintenance, because habits can fade if you stop nurturing them. That is why constant exposure matters, no matter how small the steps are. Imagine listening to a podcast while commuting, or reading a few pages of an English article before sleeping. These small practices keep the language alive in your mind. Even when you are tired or busy, allowing English to remain present ensures that your brain does not slip back into old patterns of always depending on your native language. One powerful method to keep your progress growing is to engage in storytelling. Humans naturally connect with stories, and when you tell a story in English, whether it is something that happened to you, a funny memory, or even a fictional tale, you are not just using vocabulary, you are practicing the rhythm of the language. Storytelling pushes you to think in sequence, to connect one idea with the next, and this mirrors how fluent speakers naturally communicate. At first your stories may be short and simple, but with time you will notice that they become longer, richer, and more detailed. This growth shows that your brain is learning to hold thoughts in English without interruption. You can practice this by writing a short story in your notebook, or by narrating your day out loud to yourself as if you were telling it to a friend. The more you do this, the more your brain gets used to expressing complete ideas directly in English. Another element that helps is to pay attention to context rather than only focusing on individual words. Many learners get stuck because they memorize long lists of vocabulary but struggle to use them naturally. The secret is not just knowing words, but knowing how they work together in sentences, and context is what teaches you that. For example, the word run can mean jogging, managing something, or operating, depending on the situation. When you read or listen to English, try to notice the context and how the word changes its role. This habit trains your mind to see language as a system of ideas rather than a collection of separate terms. Soon, when you think in English, you will automatically select the right word based on the situation without needing to translate. Exposure to different accents and styles of English is also valuable. Many learners are comfortable with one accent, maybe American or British, but when they hear a new one, they struggle to understand. To train your brain, explore variety. Watch videos from different regions, listen to podcasts from speakers with different accents, and notice the differences. This not only improves listening but also makes your brain more flexible, so when you think in English, you are not tied to one style. Instead, you build a wider understanding, which makes you more adaptable in real-world conversations. The more flexible your brain becomes, the more natural your English thoughts will flow. Another crucial factor is mindset, because learning to think in English is not only about techniques, it is about how you see yourself. If you always tell yourself that English is difficult or that you are not capable, your brain resists progress. But if you shift your mindset and see mistakes as part of growth, challenges as opportunities, and practice as a chance to improve, you create positive energy that fuels your journey. Think of yourself not as a student of English but as a user of English, someone who is already living the language in their own way. This identity shift is powerful, because the way you think about yourself directly affects your confidence and performance. When you identify as an English speaker, you behave like one, and your brain follows. Sometimes you may face moments of doubt, especially when you compare yourself with others who seem more fluent. But comparison often creates unnecessary pressure. Every learner has a unique path, and your focus should be on your own growth. Think back to where you started and notice the improvements you have made, no matter how small. Did you once struggle to understand even basic sentences, and now you can follow a podcast? That is growth. Did you once hesitate to say even a few words, and now you can hold a short conversation? That is progress. These achievements may feel small, but they are the foundation of fluency. Appreciating them keeps you motivated and prevents discouragement. One technique that can accelerate your progress is shadowing. This involves listening to English audio, like a podcast or speech, and repeating what you hear almost simultaneously. At first this may feel difficult, but it forces your brain to think quickly, match the rhythm, and form words without hesitation. Shadowing improves pronunciation, intonation, and fluency all at once, and most importantly, it pushes you to think in English at real speed. You cannot translate while shadowing, you must react instantly, and this trains your brain to handle conversations more naturally. Practicing this for even 10 minutes a day can create noticeable results within weeks. It is also helpful to connect English with your goals and passions. If you are learning for work, practice writing emails or presentations in English. If you want to travel, imagine conversations with strangers, ask for directions, or describe your journey in English. If your passion is movies, analyze the dialogues, repeat lines, and act them out yourself. When English becomes linked to what excites you, it no longer feels like a task but like part of your life. This emotional connection makes your brain more eager to think in English, because it feels meaningful. At the same time, do not underestimate the role of patience. Fluency is not built in a day, and there will be times when you feel stuck. But remember, even when you do not see immediate progress, your brain is still processing, connecting, and improving in the background. Trust the process, because consistency always produces results. Some breakthroughs happen quietly, without you noticing, until one day you realize you are speaking more smoothly, understanding more easily, or even dreaming in English. That moment proves that your efforts have been working all along. In the end, thinking in English is not just a skill, it is a transformation of how you interact with the world. It opens doors to new opportunities, friendships, and experiences that were once distant. Each small effort, whether describing your surroundings, practicing a story, shadowing a podcast, or writing a journal entry, brings you closer to this transformation. What matters is not perfection but persistence. Every day you choose to live a little more in English, you are rewriting the way your brain works, and that is one of the most powerful abilities you can develop. With time, dedication, and patience, English becomes not just a language you study but a language you think, feel, and live, and that is when you truly achieve fluency. Once English begins to feel like a natural part of your daily routine, the key is to expand the variety of situations in which you use it so that your thinking grows more flexible. If you only practice in predictable ways, your brain will improve in limited areas but may struggle in new or unexpected situations. That is why it helps to challenge yourself by stepping into different contexts. For instance, try reading both casual content like social media posts and more formal materials like news articles or essays. This contrast teaches your brain to shift registers, from relaxed conversation to professional communication, and the more variety you expose yourself to, the more automatic your English thinking becomes. It is like exercising different muscles, each one strengthening a part of your fluency until you are ready for any situation. Another powerful method is visualization. Imagine a scenario where you are traveling abroad, meeting a stranger, ordering food, or giving directions. Instead of imagining it in your native language, picture the whole scene in English. Think of the setting, the people, and the words that come naturally to you in that moment. Visualization is a mental rehearsal, and athletes use it to improve performance before competitions. You can use it for language too. When you imagine yourself speaking confidently in English, your brain is training even if your mouth is not moving. Over time, these imagined situations prepare you for real conversations, because you already practiced them in your mind. Reading aloud is another tool that strengthens both your brain and your mouth. When you read silently, your brain processes words, but when you read aloud, you engage muscles of speech, rhythm, and intonation. This dual practice deepens your connection with the language. Choose something you enjoy, like a short story, an inspiring article, or even your own journal, and read it aloud with energy. At first you might feel awkward, but soon you will notice smoother pronunciation and more confidence. Reading aloud also helps you become aware of the natural flow of English sentences, which improves your ability to think and speak without hesitation. It is also valuable to connect English with emotions, because emotions make experiences memorable. If you attach feelings to your English practice, your brain will remember it more deeply. For example, laugh while watching a funny English show, feel moved by an inspiring speech, or express your frustrations and joys in your journal. These emotional connections make English more than just words, they make it a living experience. When you feel, you remember, and when you remember, you grow. This emotional anchor is what allows English to become part of your natural thought process. A helpful technique many learners overlook is asking questions to yourself in English. Instead of only making statements like, I am cooking, or this is a red shirt, push your mind with questions such as, why am I cooking this meal? Or, what else could I wear today? Questions trigger deeper thinking because they force you to search for answers, form explanations, and connect ideas. This is what makes thinking in English more active rather than passive. The more you ask and answer in English, the stronger your brain becomes at managing thoughts directly in the language. Over time, you may start noticing that your dreams begin to include English. This is a sign that your brain is deeply integrating the language into its subconscious. Dreams show that you are not just practicing consciously but also processing English automatically while you sleep. This milestone may take time, but it is proof that consistent exposure works. If you want to encourage it, immerse yourself in English right before bed. Read a few pages, listen to a podcast, or watch a short video. Whatever you hear or see last often influences your dreams, and this can accelerate the natural integration of English into your mind. You should also remember that learning is not a straight path. Some days you will feel progress, other days you may feel stuck, and that is normal. Growth happens in cycles, and even when it feels slow, your brain is working in the background. Think of it like planting seeds. You water them every day, but you do not see the plant immediately. With time, the growth appears, and suddenly you realize how far you have come. Trust the process, stay patient, and continue the daily habit of living in English. Technology offers countless opportunities to practice thinking in English. Apps, online communities, video calls, and forums give you access to people and content around the world. Use these tools to create an environment where English is always within reach. For example, you can join a global chat group, post your thoughts in English on social media, or exchange voice notes with a friend who is also learning. These small interactions train your brain to handle spontaneous situations. Each time you type a quick message or record a short reply, you are practicing direct thinking without translation. One overlooked yet effective strategy is to change the language settings on your devices. Switch your phone, computer, or favorite apps into English. This may seem like a small change, but it forces your brain to interact with English in daily micro-moments. When you see buttons, menus, or notifications in English, you naturally learn the terms and start processing them without translation. Over time, this constant exposure builds automatic recognition, and your mind accepts English as part of its normal environment. Finally, remind yourself that enjoyment is the secret to long-term consistency. If English always feels like a heavy burden, you will resist it. But if you connect it to joy, curiosity, and personal growth, you will welcome it. Find content that excites you, like music, films, or games, and use them as your practice. Play with the language, make jokes, or even create your own stories. The more you enjoy it, the longer you will stick with it, and the faster you will improve. At its heart, thinking in English is not about forcing your brain but about inviting it to experience a new world. The more positive energy you attach to this process, the stronger and more natural your fluency will become. As your journey with English thinking continues, it is important to reflect on how far you have already come and use that progress as motivation to push further. Many learners underestimate the power of looking back at their improvements. Remember the days when forming even one sentence felt impossible, and now notice how easily you can create longer expressions or even hold conversations. These reflections give you strength because they remind you that progress is real and ongoing, even when you cannot see it every day. Acknowledging your growth not only builds confidence but also creates momentum to keep practicing without hesitation. One crucial element of mastery is consistency, but consistency does not mean rigidity. Instead, it means finding balance between structure and flexibility. You might have a daily routine, like reading for 10 minutes or writing a short journal, but life may interrupt that schedule sometimes. The key is not to give up when you miss a day. Simply return the next day without guilt. True consistency is measured across weeks and months, not in perfection every single day. By allowing yourself this balance, you make English a sustainable part of your lifestyle rather than a temporary project. Another secret to sustaining your motivation is connecting your learning to a bigger purpose. Ask yourself why you want to think in English fluently. Is it to study abroad, build a career, connect with people from different cultures, or simply to grow as a person? When you tie your practice to a larger dream, every small effort feels meaningful. For example, if your goal is to work internationally, then every sentence you practice is a step toward that dream job. If your goal is to travel, then every new phrase you learn is preparing you for exciting conversations abroad. Having this purpose acts like a compass, guiding you through challenges and keeping your energy alive. At this stage, storytelling becomes an especially powerful tool. Start creating your own short stories in English, either real events from your life or completely imaginary adventures. When you narrate stories, you practice grammar, vocabulary, emotions, and structure all at once. More importantly, stories stick in the mind much more than isolated words or exercises. By building your own narratives, you create personal connections to the language, and these connections deepen your memory. Even simple daily stories, like describing how your day went or what you dreamed about, are enough to strengthen your fluency. Another advanced step is to teach others. You do not need to be an expert teacher, simply share what you know with friends or family. When you explain English phrases, expressions, or tips to someone else, you process the information more deeply and strengthen your own understanding. Teaching forces you to organize your thoughts, and it reveals gaps in your knowledge that you can then work to fill. This cycle of learning and sharing creates a strong foundation and helps English thinking feel natural and useful beyond your own practice. Immersion, whether real or virtual, is the ultimate way to solidify your fluency. If you ever get the chance to travel or live in an English-speaking environment, the progress can be extraordinary because you are forced to think and respond in real time. But even without travel, you can create immersion by surrounding yourself with English through technology, media, and community. Join online discussions, watch live streams, or participate in international gaming or hobby groups. These experiences expose you to real, unscripted English, which trains your brain to adapt quickly and naturally. It is also valuable to celebrate small victories along the way. Each time you successfully express a thought without translating, or each time you understand a new phrase instantly, take a moment to appreciate it. These small wins accumulate, and over time they build the foundation of your confidence. Without celebration, you may overlook your achievements and feel stuck, but by acknowledging them, you create positive reinforcement that makes you want to continue. Remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint, and every step forward is worth recognition. At the same time, keep challenging yourself with higher goals. Once basic conversations feel comfortable, move on to more complex tasks like writing essays, debating topics, or even creating content in English for others to read or watch. These challenges push your brain beyond its comfort zone, and growth happens when you step outside what feels easy. Do not fear mistakes, because mistakes are evidence of effort. Each correction you make is a lesson learned, and these lessons bring you closer to the fluency you desire. Over the months and years, thinking in English transforms from a conscious effort into a subconscious ability. At first, you notice yourself translating, then you notice yourself catching mistakes, but eventually, you will notice that thoughts simply appear in English without you even trying. That is the true sign of fluency, when the language lives inside your mind naturally. This transformation is gradual but powerful, and it happens through the consistent, joyful, and purposeful practice you have built over time. In the end, thinking in English is more than just a skill. It is a doorway to new opportunities, friendships, and perspectives. Each word you learn, each thought you shape, and each story you tell in English expands your world. By embracing the process with patience, creativity, and passion, you are not only learning a language, you are building a bridge to a richer, more connected life. So keep moving forward with confidence, because every step you take brings you closer to a version of yourself who can think, dream, and live fully in English.